Hey everyone, this is Brandon, doing another follow-up video regarding the Klonopin, Cymbalta, the Klonopin drop and the taper, Klonopin drop and taper, and the Cymbalta taper that I'm doing right now. Um, I think it's been about two and a half weeks since my last video. Just a quick recap: I was taking Klonopin as prescribed by a doctor for PTSD, insomnia, and anxiety for about 5.5 years, from 2012 to January of 2018. And I cold turkey quit at 0.25 milligrams in January of 2018, this year. It's now August 2018. I've also been, since the beginning of the year, slowly dropping from Cymbalta 120 milligrams, and I'm down to 45 now. I think in the last video I was at 60 still, so it's been a recent drop down to 45. The last video I discussed how I enjoyed basketball, but there was some comments about be careful playing basketball because too much exercise and things like that can raise your blood pressure up and things of that nature, which makes sense because hot showers and steam seem to do that to me as well. So I was having some problems with feeling kind of lightheaded and passing out and things like that. So I've been trying to monitor that. However, in the 2 weeks I have played basketball 10 of 14 days. So Monday through Friday, an hour and a half a day. I've been out there on the court. It's been hot a lot of days, 92 degrees, 90 degrees. So I'm having to keep that in check, stay real hydrated. But all in all, that's been a pretty okay, feat. I've been doing all right with that. Just monitoring it the best I can. As far as other symptoms, haven't been as lightheaded, still having a lot of anxiety, although it seems to be getting a little better. The waves and windows, the waves seem to be shorter and the windows a little longer. That's a great thing for me. I don't know how long that's going to last, but that seems to be the cycle I'm on now, where things are kind of, like they feel like they're getting better. But as many people know, when they're going through this, that can be deceiving too. So I'm not trying to get my hopes up, just trying to enjoy the now, which I recommend anybody. Just enjoy the moments you're in when they feel good, and just know that part of withdrawal is it may, throw you a sucker punch when you're not looking, and accept that, try to bring your world in a little bit and just, enjoy the anxiety-free moments, and don't over anxiety when it comes to preparing for the next moments. But so some of the symptoms that I've been still having, other than mild anxiety, are a lot of stomach problems still, although they seem a little better than they were. I've had to do a little bit of working on that myself. I've lowered my coffee intake. A lot of people that are going through this or have expertise in going through this would say just cut the coffee entirely. It's probably not a bad idea. For me, that brings a whole bunch of new, withdrawal symptoms and headaches. I used to drink about 6 cups of coffee a day, which I know is like basically anxiety juice. But neither here nor there. I'm down to half calf. It's 1 cup of half caffeinated coffee in the morning, and after that, if I drink coffee, it's decaf. Eventually, I'll try to quit completely, not for life. I'm not trying to quit coffee or anything, but just until this thing rides out. But for now, I'm down to half calf once a day and decaf for the rest of the day if I have any. As far as foods, I've been eating a lot more. I formerly was been a vegetarian since 2014. Made that decision while I was on the medication, and I'm not saying it's a bad decision, to each their own. But what I found is working better for me is I've switched back to a little more fish in my diet, so I'm eating a lot more salmon and things like that. Still not eating any other meat and everything, but I've had actually better digestion and less bloating and things like that since I've eaten salmon. So I've read some things about the omega-3 in it. I'm not a doctor, so I have no idea. You do your own research, whatever's for you. Some people have had, IBS from it, IBSD, IBSC. Mine has kind of lingered in the more IBSC area, a lot of bloating. But that seems to be a little more manageable with the less coffee I drink and eating lighter meals, meaning I'm quite capable of eating a full meal, but what I've noticed is the sensation of being full or hungry during this seems to really trigger stomach pain. And like I said, I'm not a doctor nor a scientist, so I don't really know how that works. But from what I understand, the GABA receptors, which everything communicates with the brain and the stomach, they say the stomach is like the second brain. It has, I think, more GABA receptors than anywhere in the body, possibly. So I think those symptoms or those senses, those nerves, are a little out of whack for people when they're coming off of nerve medicine, such as benzos. I'm not really sure how the Cymbalta withdrawal plays into that, but either way, it seems to be better if I if I order my meal when I go out or whatever meal I have, if I don't eat too full, eat to sustain. So that means I'm not finishing my plate, things like that, wasting food, but at the same time I end up having less pain and less digestive issues later due to the withdrawals. So that seems to be working for me for now. Also, I'm staying very hydrated. I've always been pretty good about that, especially when I'm playing a lot of basketball, drinking a lot of water. I'm a big water drinker. It's pretty much all I drink other than coffee. So water a lot. I've always got a thermos with me. I've always been kind of known for that, but now I'm making sure that I'm constantly drinking, filling, things. Um, Other than that, my sleeping has gotten a little better because I was having trouble even sleeping on my stomach and stuff because of bloating, but that's gotten strangely better. Maybe it's due to diet, maybe it's due to time, or maybe I'm just in a gigantic window. I don't know. But either way, I'm thankful for it, grateful for it. So I'm going to keep doing that. I've also tried to minimize, other than minimizing coffee, minimizing the amount of stress that I put on myself. That means whether it's music or the programs on TV, movies, anything that might kind of trigger the senses a little more than I'm ready to deal with at that time. You know, I watched the Avengers Infinity War the other day, and I'm glad I didn't watch it 3 months ago, is all I can say. It's a great movie, but, where I'm at in this benzo withdrawal is just, little things, even like a movie like that, just kind of too many emotions and stuff. So be mindful of the things, not that you put in your body and your belly, but like what you put in your mind while you're going through this kind of thing. So, like I said, as far as the Klonopin, like I said, I'm at 6 or 7 months right now, of not using it at all. I've never abused it, but it is what it is. So people out there that are going through this, whether you've had an addiction or you're just chemically addicted, or you've been using it for other than prescribed reasons or overly prescribed reasons, whatever, we're all in the same boat. So, don't feel bad about, having to heal from this. I did for a while, but I certainly don't now. As I said in my last video, any of the judgment that you're going to get, that doesn't matter. You just need to treat this like it's almost a brain injury and just heal yourself and not overwhelm your senses, and just do what you got to do to heal yourself. Document, journal, video, whatever it is you got to do. You need to heal. And know that you're cared about and you're valuable in this world. I said that last time, and it's exactly true. I completely stand by that. We are all human, and we all are, going through this, and people hopefully will be a little more understanding. If they're not, you can find people in the communities online, whether it's YouTube or online in Google groups or whatever, the help is out there. Not everybody that's going to be able to help you is going to have all the answers, but they might be able to steer you in a way and at least give you some positive reinforcement, to make you feel better. Like I said in the last video, very important not to hurt yourself. Extremely important. Do not hurt yourself. Do not. We're all going to think about things. Part of this withdrawal, at least for many of us, is suicidal ideation. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that right, but one of the symptoms I've said over and over again is speaking too fast, thoughts, being overly abundant in the head and trying to speak like 4 thoughts at one time. I tend to interrupt a lot of people, my wife included, more than normal. And so just understand that there's a lot going on, and try not to put too much more in there that you can process. One of the things I like to do is watch a lot of educational stuff, and I kind of gravitated towards looking at a lot of what if videos, including anonymous videos and things like that. And those are great to learn. But now is probably not the time to be watching those. I've learned that watching conspiracy theory videos is not a good idea while going through benzo and withdrawal and Cymbalta tapering, because it gets a little too much stimulated going on, worst case scenario things going on. So I've avoided that. I know it sounds kind of crappy that you got to take everything away, but it's kind of like with diet. You take enough away and get it down to 1 or 2 things, and then start putting things back, and then see what does and doesn't work, and then stay there for a little while. That's kind of how that's what works for me. So maybe something similar will work for somebody else in this situation. I'm also been referring to the Ashton manual. So if you're in withdrawal with benzos, or you know somebody in withdrawal, you might want to familiarize yourself with that. I believe it's available for free online for download, or you can pretty inexpensively get it. It's a real quick read, short read. Part of it's got a tapering plan on it, and another part is just coping and what these withdrawals are all about. For me, I used it more for what these are all about because I was already done with the tapering of benzos. I didn't really taper, I just kind of cold turkey jumped at 0.25, which I don't recommend to anybody. But if you're looking for some more information on it from an expert, I'd say the Ashton manual is the way to go with that. It's pretty much the all-to go-to source. There's not many out there, but check that out. If you have any trouble finding it, comment or something at the bottom, and we'll get that information to you on where to get it or whatever. So I talked about, like I said, my thoughts are scrambling right now. So I talked about I've been playing basketball more, which is good. Trying to keep blood pressure down, not overplaying, but not at the same time, not being able to do anything. So playing a little bit of basketball, minimizing, the kind of media I put in. Definitely still taking a break from work for me. I know not everybody can do that, and I understand. Just you do what you can to minimize the stresses of work and things of that nature. I wanted to talk about one thing before I go. I don't want this to be too long of a video. The symptoms have been more manageable. Like I said, where I'm at now, I still have some stomach issues. Still have anxiety, a little bit, not short-tempered, but short, sensitive, I guess you could say. Overly hypersensitive is a word you hear a lot in this withdrawal syndrome, hypersensitivity. That makes sense, except with the GABA receptors and every other sense is just going haywire. So understand that's probably pretty normal. One of the things I want to talk about was tolerance withdrawal, because I have more of an understanding of that now. Understanding the last few years before I even dropped from the Klonopin I was in tolerance withdrawal. I didn't even know what tolerance withdrawal was. I was prescribed my medicine. I took less than prescribed, and I thought, okay. But after a few years, the stuff stops working chemically the way it's supposed to. So I started having all these mysterious symptoms, both mental, emotional, and also, I guess, the physical. I definitely did. And but I just didn't know it, understand it. It was kind of making even more anxiety, like what's going on here. And you think, well, I'm on medicine, so it can't be that, but no, that's exactly what tolerance withdrawal is. And I'm not going to try to explain what it is. Like I said, I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to try to go into detail of what it all is. You can look it up yourself if you're not familiar with it, tolerance withdrawal. And so basically the way I can compare and contrast it is recently in the last couple of weeks I received some pretty, upsetting news. We all get bad news all the time, but it was, it was pretty, not devastating, but, normally I'd say it was close to devastating news. But I handled it fairly well, and that's kind of shocking to me because, for one, I'm not on medicine, and two, I'm actually in withdrawals from the medicine. Currently, well, I am on the 45 milligrams of Cymbalta, but compared to 120, and no Klonopin, which is an anxiety medicine. So the Cymbalta is for depression, and the Klonopin was for anxiety and PTSD. So when that news hit me, I thought, the world's going to fall apart. And, it was pretty bad for the first couple of days dealing and processing it, but that's pretty normal, I guess, of anybody in society. And so, I've been doing that. I kept playing basketball because I figured that was healthy, get it out. Doing everything I normally do, taking the dogs out for a walk. Keeping my routine, that's been big. Keeping a routine, whatever the routine is, as long as it's healthy, just trying to stick with, everything that was working, eating, not eating too much, not eating the wrong foods. I've been taking more probiotics and stuff, which I can't say they do or don't help, but, in the long run, it's going to make someone healthier, I guess. So, why not? Either way, I stuck to a routine, and, after a couple of days of dealing with it, kind of things leveled back out. Like I said, it was pretty devastating news, but it was manageable, and managed it, and just I thought about that in the last couple of days, and I thought that was something I'd talk about. So specifically people who are having loved ones or friends or family or whatever that is going through this might understand what it really means to be in tolerance withdrawal. So if you think someone you know, or you know someone is on medication and as prescribed or whatever, and everything should be all right, but all of a sudden they're starting to have these haywire moments and not processing things that normally you or people other who aren't on medication can handle. And it's like, well, maybe they need to up their meds, are they getting worse? That might not be it. Their medicine might be getting worse. They might be getting chemically addicted to it, and it's no longer working. And so if they don't go get on more medicine, which eventually they're going to get chemically addicted to that or get tolerance withdrawal to that too. It's just a never-ending cycle. So I wanted to compare and contrast to like how well I managed this situation going through this chaos that I've been going through as far as news that I got in the last 2 weeks. That it's been manageable and everything's fine. Bad news is bad news. But then comparing it to where I was when I was like in November of last year, when I was on the proper amount of medicine and 120 milligrams of Cymbalta. So I was basically taking between I think half a milligram and a whole milligram of the Klonopin and 120 milligrams of Cymbalta in November of last year. And that was 2 months before I decided this is over, and I just completely stopped taking the Klonopin at 0.25. So I went on a mini vacation to Myrtle Beach in November of last year, 2017, and I don't remember. It was a very tense trip as I was in tolerance withdrawal. I was just having a lot of things were aggravating me. I had headaches, distorted reality. There again, didn't know what tolerance withdrawal was. Didn't think it had anything to do with the medication. I just thought maybe the medication was stopping, not working anymore. I didn't know it was causing anything. But it turns out that's probably exactly the opposite of the truth. And so I had no bad news, really. It wasn't like anybody gave me any bad news in November. I just was in a bad way. And so, I remember we had stayed in a hotel on the beach in Myrtle Beach, and I was about 11 floors up, and only my wife knows this, so this is kind of a little bit hard for me to discuss, but I think it's important for people to understand what this tolerance withdrawal can do to someone. But I hadn't received any bad news. I was just having a hard time going through tolerance withdrawals. Didn't know what tolerance withdrawals were, and basically was having a lot of mental and emotional and even physical problems, but just didn't have anything to label it with. Just thought, I'm losing it or something, but you kind of keep rolling. But I was very anxious and agitated is the best word I can describe it. Fearful and agitated. And so at one point, my wife and I were having a disagreement, which I always tend to get into all the time with anybody if I perceive something as a threat or an aggressive nature. And so I was probably acting a little bit out of turn, but all I know is that at some point like I said, it's very difficult to discuss this, but at some point I went out onto the balcony and was so angry and sad and emotional. I believe I had tears in my eyes, and I was also full of like anger and rage, and I just wanted to strike out, not physically and hurt anybody, but just to leave an impression. So you probably see where I'm going with this. On the 11th floor, and I ended up climbing onto the balcony of the 11th floor with my back to nothing, essentially. There was no room for my feet to stand on the ledge other than the tippy toes of my feet. So I had no middle of my foot, no ball of foot, no back foot, whatever, on anything. I was holding on to the railing in front of me, and it was very like rickety and loose and everything. I mean, I don't think it was meant to be like hanging off of, but I was very upset, and basically my plan was just to end it right there and just drop. And it was a very sad day. I remember being on that balcony and being very upset. And my wife was inside, and I remember the reflection from the sun that was coming off the ocean. We were right off the ocean. Was kind of glaring up the window a little bit, so I couldn't really see her too well inside through the glass door. So there was like one of those little like lawn chair things you would see at a hotel on the balcony. And I actually was holding on one hand and reached up and kind of threw it over to the window. And at that point, I could make her out, and she just kind of froze. Now, sidebar, her point of view was, and I can understand this, you probably could too if you've watched a loved one go through this, that she was caught in her own fight, flight, freeze moment, whatever it was. Do I approach him and go out there, and then he does with his brain, he's probably freaking out and say, I'm gonna, let this be the last image you see as I let go and, punish her with my death right in front of her eyes? Or does she just not move at all, and then I perceive that she doesn't care? It's a very scary moment for someone like that, because, what do you do? Of course, in my mind, there was like, oh, she doesn't care, or she's mad, or whatever. I wasn't thinking straight. I remember thinking below us, it was, 11 floors up from a building, it may not seem like tremendous, but it was, it was up there pretty high. The wind was blowing, and it's scary. I didn't realize how scary it was until I started coming to my senses a little bit. But I remember I had no fear. I didn't care. I was sad, but I was more sad about continuing to live in that torment I was in, not being able to understand what was going on in my brain. And so my mind was that I'll just drop, just let go. And below us there was like a little water park, literally like right below us on the beach. So I would have not just hit the ground, I'd hit about 3 things on the way down. I mean, definitely would have killed me, I'd say. But it would have been pretty ugly. And probably would have been in front of a bunch of, young people, families, and it would have just been, it'd been ugly. And so, kind of like wanting the world to see your misery kind of thing, I guess is what was probably subconsciously going through my mind. Not only upset my loved one, my wife, but also upset the, the normal happy people down below. And around that time, somewhere in there, I looked at that same reflection in the mirror that was allowing, not the mirror, but the window that was allowing me, preventing me from seeing clearly back into the hotel room. The sun was on enough to where I actually saw my reflection. And I remember looking at myself, and I just didn't look, it was like it wasn't me. And I know that sounds like a figure of speech or something, but it was like the torment and hell I was feeling was not what was looking back at me. It was almost like, my mind was, this guy's going to kill me, Well, now I understand that it was these tolerance withdrawals that were taking over my mind. People can say that's a joke, they controlled me for this or whatever, but, the compare and contrast is that I got some of the worst news that I've received in like the last few years, in the last 2 weeks. And it sucks, I think my last video was like that, crap happens and you move on, but you're going to be okay. Well, that actually happened afterwards, so I've had to continue to move and be productive and everything, and things are okay. I mean, they're manageable. Life, for the most part is manageable. I'm going to be okay. Just like if you're going through things, you're going to be okay. You are, adored and cared for and valued. I'm telling you that to you. You are. But the difference is that in having all these withdrawals and having no, medicine to lean on, I was able to manage that situation, especially with the love of the help of, loved ones and friends and family, my wife. I've been able to, kind of continue to move forward productively and not be destructive to myself or to my life or anything, versus November of last year when I received no negative news, just having a bad day, and I'm literally ready to jump off of a building to the point where I'm not just thinking about doing it, I'm like jumping, I'm getting on the other side of a railing 11 floors up in the air. And as I came to looking at my reflection, then I began to become fearful. And at that point when I realized what had happened and where I was and how did I get there kind of thing, it wasn't like I blacked out. It was just like, how did I allow myself to get out here in such anger and rage and sadness? Well, then I began to get scared at that moment. And I became very sweaty. My hands got very sweaty, which made the grip a lot harder to hold on to. And I ended up like scooting over to the side wall because it was almost impossible to climb over, I guess, as it was to get over there the first time. It was a lot more difficult getting back over with no foot support, really. So the whole thing was just a nightmare. I honestly try not to think about it now. I guess in reality, though, if you can't say that there's a compare and contrast, a clear difference in those two ways of handling stress and negativity, and one was on a full medication and one is off, and it seemed like it'd be reversed, but it wasn't. I was ready to die, a horrible death, an ugly death, while on medication, and versus receiving some pretty ugly news in the last few weeks. This whole, since January, has been a nightmare, really going through this, but I haven't done anything like that. I've had suicidal thoughts. I think we all have going through this kind of thing, but it's been thoughts and they get better. And that said, though, back then, I almost killed myself. I almost let tolerance withdrawal kill me. It was taking my mind. Sadly, before that, that wasn't the only time I had done things like that. That was definitely the furthest I think I had gone. But there was other times where, I was ready to run off of a road, to just crash headfirst into a car, not to another car, but into a pole or something. I never had the whole, I'm going to go out and hurt people, but I definitely had the whole, forget it, I'll just take myself out because I don't want to live this way. And all that happened while on full dose of Cymbalta and the full dose of Klonopin, which seems pretty contrary to what they're supposed to do, as opposed to going through withdrawals and actually fighting for my life, which is the difference. I've been fighting for my life and I'm winning. And if there's anything I can give to you, if you're going through this or you have a loved one going through this, is that is it. Fight for your life. You will succeed at beating this withdrawals, and you will come out of this stronger. You might even feel stronger as you're going through it. You might hurt a little bit too. That's probably pretty normal, but you're going to find that you're stronger. That's why I'm doing this, to update people, is to let them know that I'm still here, not just for me anymore, but just to give this message out there, because if I got hit by a truck tomorrow, I want somebody to know that I fought. And so keep fighting for yourself. Because if this medicine and whether it was, like I said, I don't think the medicine is so much bad. It's designed to do what it does. But then you get into tolerance withdrawals, and that's where these monsters get created in your mind. And they create all kinds of havoc on your body and your mind. And that almost killed me. I almost let it kill me by letting the suicidal thoughts become action. And whether it was thinking about running my car off a road or into a pole or something, or actually standing on the edge of an 11th floor balcony overlooking a water park and a beach and falling to my death as my wife and family watched. My wife and the families on the ground watched. That's a big difference, between where I'm at now and fighting for my life and feeling every month things get a little better. Maybe it's slow moving, month. That's true, it's slow moving, but it's also not instantaneously a mistake I can't take back. And that's the same thing I want you to understand if you're going through this, is that if you stay the course, you will find that your life actually has, if you're not feeling like your life has value now, you will get there. And like I said, you've got to watch a bunch of YouTube videos of people telling you that, affirmation stuff, or that you're valuable and you're loved, and do that. Do whatever it is to brainwash yourself into thinking that you are worth living if you don't feel that way now. I'm telling you I love you, that I care about you. There's plenty of videos out there that'll do the same, and they'll do it for a whole 30 minutes to an hour, just saying, affirmation kind of thoughts and stuff. So, whatever you got to do, you need to do that, because you'll get to a point where you'll see that your life is valuable. And then you'll be like, man, I can't believe this stuff almost tried, this medicine, this withdrawals tried to kill me. And that's kind of where it got with me. I just finally realized that, being on the medicine almost took me away. Like I said, not being on the medicine, but being on the medicine, then having tolerance withdrawals from it. And that almost, messed me up permanently, versus, now being off of it and then continuing to fight every day. One more day, one more month. And, and then starting to see results. If you're into computers at all or anything like that, I like computers a lot, not a programmer or anything, but you'll see a flow chart. Everything kind of has, this way goes that way. You'll understand what flow charting is. It's the same with, your life. If you keep doing stuff repetitiously, you look at it as a brute force attack on whatever's ailing you, eventually you'll start seeing results. And so that's why I'm eating healthy now and all that, because it may not help, but it ain't gonna hurt, and then down the road it might help something else. Either way, you just kind of take control of certain things, and maybe you'll see that it starts putting a little smile on your face, giving you moments of feeling better, and eventually those moments become little longer moments. And then like I said, it takes a while, But once you look back, you're able to look back and say, man, I can't believe I'm a warrior for fighting through this stuff. It's the hardest thing I've ever gone through in my life, and I'm still sitting here. You'll see it, you know. And so journal it, do whatever you got to do, document it, help others, whatever it is that makes you feel like going on day to day. And just understand that some of the things that are going through your head now, if you're in withdrawal, and some of the things that might be going through your head if you're tapering or your intolerance withdrawal, whatever, those are not, they're real feelings, but they're lying to you. You know, basically they're making you think things, you know, that aren't true. You know, the feelings are real, but they're not real, like, you know, real life, real evidence stuff, you know. And the real stuff is when you fight through and you start winning, you know, and coming off of all these medicines and learning how to cope with reality and start realizing you're a lot stronger than you thought you were, that you can handle more stress than you thought you could, that, you know, there's all kinds of productive ways of dealing with stuff. And so, like I said, this video's already gone on too long. It's been 30 minutes, so I just wanted to say that was really difficult for me to come through and say. You know, but I've been through a lot of trauma in my life, so there'll probably be more that I talk about and how I ever got on these pills to begin with. But for sure, that's something that, you know, I wanted to reveal, that the difference between, you know, what tolerance withdrawal is. You know, like I said, 1 minute I'm ready to kill myself and taking action to do so, versus the other where I'm fighting for my life. And you would think that the one you would be on some medicine and the other you wouldn't, but for me it was reversed, and I'm sure for a lot of folks it is as well. So just keep fighting a good fight. Know that you're loved. Know that people out there care about you. I don't know you, but I care about you. You know, people can believe that or not, but it's true. We're all down here without a roadmap. We don't know what's going on. We have nobody really to. That's the best way. Nobody has a roadmap to how to win in life. You know, we just do the best we can. And I'm hopeful that somebody out there that's suffering can look at the documentation that I leave and that others are leaving about this withdrawal stuff from benzos, and see that you're not alone at the very least, and find that, you know, that there's ways to fight this. I will try to update you again in a couple of weeks. Hopefully have more light in here again. That's what happens when you do this in the late afternoon. Sun goes down a little bit, but so I'll try to update you in a couple of weeks, let you know. I'll probably be dropping again from 45 to 30 milligrams of Cymbalta, but we'll cross that off the next time. I'll also probably be making a video, like I said, on a little bit more about trauma and how things like that you can get on this medicine. But those are separate videos. For those of you who are fighting through benzo withdrawal, just know that you're not alone and that you will win and beat this stuff. And that's it. I'll see you guys in 2 weeks, and keep fighting the good fight, y'all. Peace.